Hi, I'm Gary Burke, Transformational Change Advisor, Consultant and Author, and I work with business leaders and organisations to help them better understand what transformation is and what it really involves, so it can be approached in the right way, avoiding the pitfalls and executed and delivered successfully. Understanding your current operating model, how the multiple components of your organisation work and work together, is a critically important factor for successful transformation, as it provides a solid foundation for change. And to illustrate this, let's consider an actual journey. We're in London and we want to go to Scotland. That's our objective. We may initially aim for Edinburgh and plan this route, although en route we get some information that means we need to go to Glasgow instead. Now, as long as we know that being in Scotland is the outcome we want, the detail, our absolute destination, is not critically important to our initial heading, as we can change direction with minimal impact. However, if you don't sufficiently understand where you're starting from, you're actually in Plymouth rather than London, you'll get a very different route, and in program terms, a different plan. The approach, direction, and priorities may be wrong, with focus given to the wrong things and incorrect assumptions made. The journey won't be as you expected, and outcomes are likely to be compromised. As well as cost and time overruns on the program itself, the longer-term consequences could include increasing technical debt, compromising best practice in the short term to make things easier, but knowing that it will make future technical support and change more difficult and costly, or increasing operational debt, perhaps having to introduce convoluted processes or even manual workarounds. Either way, this will impact the benefits case, and over time would lead to an increasingly clunky, inefficient and costly operation that gets harder to maintain and change. Understanding your current operating model should provide a valuable, maintainable and reusable corporate asset, a single source of operational truth that provides a solid foundation for change, as well as enhancing operational resilience and business agility. You wouldn't knowingly buy a house that didn't have solid foundations, so why would you spend potentially millions on a transformation program without them? But companies that do try to define their current operating model sometimes focus too much on process, which is just one of the multiple components that need to be considered. And processes can be documented to a very detailed level. However, being too detailed at the wrong time can seriously slow progress and not add any value. An analogy: it's raining and you need to get a taxi to go to the train station. So you'll call a taxi firm or use an app to book one. You don't need to have a conversation or into details about the make of car or its colour or the specification of tyres. These are details you don't need to care about. Knowing the answers adds no value to your objective of getting to the station without getting wet. You do, of course, need to have confidence that basic expectations are going to be met. If there's ever any doubt, regardless of how obvious it may seem, there is never any harm in asking the seemingly stupid questions to establish clarity and eliminate ambiguity. You wouldn't really want this taxi turning up, would you? So when defining the current operating model, if the amount of information being generated starts to become unmanageable, consider the consequences of not knowing the detail. Is it really required at this stage? But it's not just providing unnecessary detail that you need to be aware of. In situations where more information is needed, don't confuse providing more detail if it's context that's actually required. If you are asked to identify this painting, your objective, despite not having all the pieces, the detail, you can still clearly see it's the Mona Lisa. And there's a further reason why understanding your current operating model is important. As technology has advanced, organisations are doing less and less themselves, and increasingly using third parties to provide services and products. Gone are the days when organisations did everything in-house and administered business on a small number of huge systems. The operating model, which was once relatively simple, illustrated by this basic jigsaw puzzle, is now far more complex, and it's continuing to fragment. And as it does so, the line between the organisation's operating model and the ecosystem it operates in is blurring. Operational complexity is much greater than it used to be, and it's more important than ever to understand how this all fits together. You can read more about this and other transformation insights in my book, A Transformation Lens, available on Amazon. And if you'd like to get in touch, you can contact me via LinkedIn or through the rabbitsfromhats.co.uk website.